Morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Well, good morning. Welcome to Legislative Day 19, almost halftime. Little housekeeping matter here before we start, as today, as you probably know, we'll hear the state of the judiciary. We will not do morning orders before the state of judiciary. We simply have too many that have signed up. And so we'll try to get to those later in the day, but we're going to take care of our business. We will get as far on invite resolutions as we can, and we may have to come back to those later on. So that's just for your planning purposes. Chair heard from Chairman Gerald Green early this morning. He is in a lot of pain and got another procedure coming up tomorrow, and he asked me to express his appreciation for thoughts and prayers of this body during the time he's been in the hospital. And I don't know how many of you know, but Chairman Bonnie Rich is also hospitalized, and got a little better report on her this morning. So keep her and her family in your thoughts too. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 180th House District, Representative Stephen Saines. Representative Saines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a true honor to introduce a friend, a servant of Christ here today. I met Martin several years ago as he took a leadership role in our local chamber, representing his well-respected heating and air company. I was not aware of Pastor Turner until a year or two after, though I couldn't say I was surprised. If you know Martin, you know his heart, more specifically his passion for taking the heart that Christ shows us outside of church walls. Getting a little bit more intel from his leaders in his church on Pastor Turner, I was told multiple times, Martin just likes being out there, and that's exactly what he does. From leading multiple new outreach campaigns at Southeast Community Church to spreading his light on Lighthouse Christian Radio, whose founders, Paul and Vicki Hafer, are here today, to his work as a leader in Camden's business community. You see the love of Christ in just about every word and deed Martin takes. And above all other titles, Pastor Turner is the husband of Sherry, father of Martin Jr. and Will, and grandfather of Andrew, Aaron, Ashton, Caroline, Callie, McKenna, Rachel, and Zach. And it's a true honor to introduce, and please welcome Pastor Turner.
I need a stool. Last year I was here and you guys had a speaker that told you thank you in 18 different languages. I got to say, I was extremely impressed. She never even looked at a note, and I thought, oh my, I could never ever do that. As a matter of fact, the only other language I know besides Georgian is Koine Greek. And when I was in Bible college taking Koine Greek, and we had to bring in a Greek New Testament to read, we couldn't read anything else. My professor said that I was the only student he ever had that spoke Southern Koine Greek. Mr. Speaker and members of this House of Representatives, Stephen Saines as well, good morning, and thank you for allowing me to speak with you this morning. I want to begin by reading a story given to me by a young lady in our county that you guys, this house, in 1937 actually helped today, which tells me how important what you do is in all of our lives. She writes in her own words, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer on February the 1st, 2018, during a routine hernia repair operation at a local hospital in Brunswick, Georgia. When I awoke to the news that cancer had been found, I did not mourn or weep, but stayed unusually calm. You see, I had every reason to worry for my health and my finances all at once. In 2012, I decided to end my insurance coverage as I could no longer afford it. I had hoped for working 40 hours a week. I could no longer afford it. Working 40 plus hours a week for years did not result in the financial stability that I'd hoped for. God was in control, though. As I met my financial services at our hospital, not only did He provide the best doctors for me on the path to healing, but He also sent me an employee of the hospital who was fully versed in programs offered by the state of Georgia. I began paperwork for the state support assistance program that was available. This incredible program covered my chemo and oncologist, and I'm so grateful for that. So I say two things today. First, that it is because of laying my full faith and trust in Christ and believing in full healing that I am alive today. Second, it is the programs like this program that makes such a big impact on the lives of many Georgians every day. So please continue each moment in the position that you're in now with the knowledge and wisdom that you are a part of making an impact on the lives of friends, neighbors, and beyond. Thank you, she said. Because you see, I understand what it's like to do all these things and know you don't do what you do for money. Hold on one second. I knew this was going to happen to me. I had to read that. Okay, start over. I thought you guys may want to hear some positive news. News from someone that actually received the help they needed when you were there. Her name is Christina Panzone. She volunteers her time and energy to always help those around her. She serves in our fellowship and church as a sound technician. She's a graphic artist who has a bachelor's degree from Valdosta State. She spends time in our student ministry, and she is an inspiration to so many in our community. Without this help, she probably would not even be alive today. So I looked at you guys. I looked at your bios online, and I saw that this is an extremely diverse group. I want to read some of them. Some of you are business owners, paramedics, attorneys, pilots, teachers, bankers, pharmacists, insurance agents, directors of nonprofits, farmers, CPAs, funeral directors, doctors, ministers, administrators, college instructors, general contractors, military or retired military officers, police, engineers, truck drivers, and auctioneers, and many more vocations and professions that make up this distinguished body. Wow. When I said melting pot, I wasn't lying. This is a melting pot from Georgia. Talk about a diverse group, you're it. And yet you managed to do great things for our state. Look at this. Because of you, even though this was done in 1937, this body helped a lady in 2020 to live on and make an impact in her neighborhood. She's 37 years old, and she has a chance. You see, because I know you guys wear many hats, and I know you have many responsibilities, and I know that everything you do is under a microscope. I thank you, though, for your commitment to your community and our state. And thank you for your wisdom and knowledge to serve our state. Because you see, I do understand what it's like to do these things, and I know you don't do it for the money. There isn't enough money to do this. So, as a small business owner for the past 20 years, I thank you for your service. As an air minister at the Lighthouse, WECC, for the past 8 years, I thank you for your service. As the executive pastor of Southeast Community Church in Kingsland, Georgia, I thank you for your service. So my prayer is that God would grant you today His wisdom and knowledge to govern our state, and that all of us would maintain an attitude of servant leadership. Please continue to serve. In the Old Testament, Solomon asked God to grant him wisdom and knowledge, that he would be able to govern effectively. God's response was this, reading from 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. Since this is your heart's desire, and you have not asked for wealth, possession of honor, nor the death of your enemies. I remember they asked Billy Graham's wife one time if she really believed that the Bible was a real word of God, to which she replied, of course. And they said, well, what do you think about divorce? And she said, divorce, no. Murder, maybe. Since this is what he says, is your heart's desire, and you have not asked for wealth, possession of honor, nor the death of your enemies, and since you have not asked for a long life, but for wisdom and knowledge to govern my people over whom I've made you king. Therefore, wisdom and knowledge I will give you. Please stand with me. Let's pray. Father, I love you with my whole heart. But God, help me to continue to do just that. And Lord, I pray for this body. I pray for this house. God, give them knowledge to begin with. And then give them the wisdom to know how to handle that knowledge, so that they can serve the state of Georgia, that they can serve this 10.6 million people that they serve every day when they make decisions in this house. I thank you for them, God. I thank you that they have that servant's heart and that they deliver in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. The chair recognizes Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits read the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159th moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1013 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Gardner of the 57th, Oliver of the 82nd, Williams of the 37th, Schofield of the 60th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to public assistance.
Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care.
House Bill 1014 by Representative Tankersley of the 160th, Dickey of the 140th, Nix of the 69th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 42 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to downtown development authorities.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1015 by Representative Wiedauer of the 119th, Burns of the 159th, Smith of the 70th, Jones of the 25th, Corbett of the 174th, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Article 5 of Chapter 6 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Georgian Carbon Sequestration Registry.
Natural Resources and Environment.
House Bill 1016 by Representative Burchetta of the 176th. Bill be entitled an act to amend the act reconstituting the Board of Education of Atkinson County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1017 by Representatives Laricchia of the 169th, Lott of the 122nd, Reeves of the 34th, Corbett of the 174th, and Belton of the 112th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Code Section 45-985 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to payment of indemnification.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 1018 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, Hitchens of the 161st, Williams of the 168th, Lumsden of the 12th, Belton of the 112th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Code Section 4286 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to special license plates.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1019 by Representative Bazemore of the 63rd, Bruce of the 61st, Bodie of the 62nd, Jackson of the 64th, and Metz of the 55th. Bill be entitled an act to amend an act to incorporate the city of South Fulton.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1020 by Representative Gravely of the 67th, Powell of the 32nd, Tarvin of the 2nd, Barton of the 5th, Gullett of the 19th, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to driver's licenses.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1021 by Representative Hitchens, the 161st, Burns, the 159th, Lumsden of the 12th, Tanner of the 9th, Powell of the 32nd, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Article 10 of Chapter 21 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Georgia Drivers Education Commission.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1022 by Representative Cooper, the 43rd, Stevens, the 164th, Pruitt of the 149th, and Wilson of the 80th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 7 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to dispossessory proceedings.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1023 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th, Smith of the 41st, Gardner of the 57th, Clark of the 108th, and Trammell of the 132nd. Bill be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to post-secondary education.
Higher Education.
House Bill 1024 by Representative Newton, the 123rd, Hatchett of the 150th, Jones of the 47th, Stevens of the 164th, Dickey of the 140th, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to state health planning and development.
Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care.
House Bill 1025 by Representative Setzler of the 35th, Reeves of the 34th, Earhart of the 36th, Wilkerson of the 38th, Parsons of the 44th, and others. Bill being titled, an act to amend an act to reincorporate and provide a new charter for the city of Ackworth.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1026 by Representative Dickey, the 140th, Knight of the 130th, Jaspers the 11th, and Bentley the 139th. Bill being titled, an act to amend Code Section 23-499 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the selection of REACH scholars.
Education.
House Bill 1027 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th. Taylor, the 173rd, Frye, the 118th, Stevenson, the 164th, Silcox, the 52nd, and others. Bill be titled, an act to amend Chapter 64, Title 33, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to regulation and licensures of pharmacies.
Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care.
House Bill 1028 by Representative Bazemore, the 63rd, Bruce, the 61st, Bodie, the 62nd, Jackson, the 64th, and Metz, the 55th. Bill be titled, an act to amend an act to incorporate the city of South Fulton.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1029 by Representative Mathis of the 144th. Bill being titled, an act to provide that future elections for the office of probate judge of Twiggs County shall be nonpartisan.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1030 by Representative Mathis of the 144th. Bill being titled, an act to provide that future elections for the office of chief judge of the magistrate court of Twiggs County shall be nonpartisan.
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 1267 by Representative Bentley, the 139th, Dickey, the 140th, Kendrick, the 93rd, Stevenson of the 90th, Corbett of the 174th, and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Sheriff Van Peavy and dedicating an interchange in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1268 by Representative Beagley Teague of the 65th, Bodie of the 62nd, Thomas of the 56th, Robichaud of the 48th, Howard of the 124th, and others. A resolution recognizing Honorable Emma Darnell and dedicating an interchange in her memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1269 by Representative Tanner of the 9th, Hitchens of the 161st, Irwin of the 28th, Benton of the 31st, Lumsden of the 12th, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on Local Law Enforcement Retirement.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Resolution 1280 by Representative Dempsey the 13th, Cooper the 43rd, Gamble the 15th, Dickerson of the 113th, Dickey of the 140th. A resolution creating the Joint Study Committee on Childhood Lead Exposure.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 294 by Representative Black of the 8th, Huffstetler of the 52nd, Ginn of the 47th, Robertson of the 29th. Bill be titled, an act to amend Code Section 47, 20, 87 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to eligible lard retirement systems.
Retirement.
Senate Bill 303 by Senator Watson of the 1st, Jones of the 25th, Butler of the 55th, Underman of the 45th, Martin of the 9th, and others. A bill be titled, an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to insurance.
Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care.
Senate Bill 308 by Senators Kirkpatrick the 32nd, Albers of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Harper of the 7th, and Say of the 34th. Bill be titled, an act to amend Article 3, Chapter 7, Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to abandoned vessels.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
Senate Bill 340 by Senator Beach of the 21st, Donzel of the 27th, Black of the 8th, Martin of the 9th, Brass of the 28th. A bill being titled, an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 1 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to holidays and observances.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 342 by Senator Jones of the 25th, Mullis of the 53rd, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, and Miller of the 49th. Bill being titled, an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 3, and Article 1 of Chapter 4, Title 25 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to minimum requirements.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
Senate Bill 352 by Senator Burke of the 11th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 1st, Harper of the 7th, Martin of the 9th. Bill be titled, an act to amend Code Section 33, 20C-2 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to online provider directories.
Insurance.
That completes first readers.
The chair wants to recognize on the floor of the House a distinguished former member of this body, former State Representative Paul Bolster. Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 997 by Representative Carpenter of the 4th, Cantrell of the 22nd, Frye of the 818th, Bonner of the 72nd, a bill relating to education. House Bill 998 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, Buckner of the 137th, Corbett of the 174th, McCall of the 33rd, and Tarvin of the 2nd, a bill relating to game and fish. House Bill 999 by Representative Knight of the 130th, McCall of the 33rd, Burns of the 159th, a bill relating to state holidays and observances. House Bill 1000 by Representative Benton of the 31st, England of the 116th, and Barr of the 103rd, a bill to authorize the governing authority of the town of Brazelton to levy an excise tax. House Bill 1001 by Representative Stovall of the 74th, Cantrell of the 22nd, Bernal of the 77th, Scott of the 76th, a bill relating to video monitoring cameras in classrooms, providing special education services, requirements, evaluations, and funding. House Bill 1002 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to imposition rate computation and exemptions from income taxes. House Bill 1003 by Representative Burns of the 159th, Tankersley of the 160th, Hitchens of the 161st, Parrish of the 158th, a bill relating to the number of judges of superior courts. House Bill 1004 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to imposition rate computation and exemptions from regarding income taxes. House Bill 1005 by Representative Dickey of the 140th, Holmes of the 129th, Washburn of the 141st, a bill to authorize the governing authority of the city of Forsyth to levy an excise tax. House Bill 1006 by Representative Jackson of the 64th, Dreyer of the 59th, Bodie of the 62nd, Schofield of the 60th, Bruce of the 61st, a bill to provide for the selection of the Chief Judge of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. House Bill 1007 by Representative Douglas of the 78th, Bodie of the 62nd, Carpenter of the 4th, Perkle of the 155th, Fry of the 118th, and others, a bill relating to health. House Bill 1008 by Representative Campbell of the 171st, McCall of the 33rd, Corbett of the 174th, Perkle of the 155th, Rhodes of the 120th, and others, a bill relating to definitions relative to factory-built buildings and dwelling units. House Bill 1009 by Representative Smith of the 41st, Carpenter of the 4th, Wilkerson of the 38th, Taylor of the 173rd, a bill relating to personal assistive mobility devices. House Bill 1010 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, Clark of the 108th, Carpenter of the 92nd, Hughley of the 136th, Hobson of the 153rd, and others, a bill protecting individuals from discrimination in housing, education, and employment. House Bill 1011 by Representative Fry of the 118th, Harrell of the 106th, Smyrie of the 135th, Hutchinson of the 107th, Wilson of the 80th, and others, a bill relating to powers, duties, and authority of the Department of Natural Resources and its Division of Historic Preservation and Historic Preservation Grant Program. House Bill 1012 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act. House Resolution 1246 by Representative Mitchell of the 88th, a resolution urging legislative and elected officials to support public policy that serves the interests and needs of all Georgians. House Resolution 1247 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, resolution designating the Savannah Logistics Technology Innovation Corridor as an official technology innovation corridor in Georgia. House Resolution 1248 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Thomas of the 56th, Hutchinson of the 107th, Hughley of the 136th, Bennett of the 94th, and others, resolution creating the House Study Committee on Infant and Maternal Mortality Rate among African Americans. House Resolution 1249 by Representative Couch of the 50th, Robichaud of the 48th, Holland of the 54th, Clark of the 108th, Moore of the 95th, and others. Resolution creating the House Study Committee on Increasing Access to Pre-K and After-School Programs. House Resolution 1250 by Representative Schofield of the 60th and Dreyer of the 59th. Resolution urging the Georgia Department of Transportation to erect sound barriers for the city of Hapeville. House Resolution 1251 by Representative Tanner of the 9th, Powell of the 32nd, Tarvin of the 2nd, Montana of the 17th, Ridley of the 6th. Resolution urging the Congress of the United States to propose an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to require a two-thirds approval vote of the House of Representatives in order to begin impeachment proceedings against the sitting president. Senate Bill 123 by Senator Ligon Jr. of the 3rd, Watson of the 1st, Kirk of the 13th, Orrick of the 36th, Jones of the 25th, and others, a bill relating to waste management. Senate Bill 302 by Senator Alberts of the 56th, House Etler of the 52nd, Duggan of the 30th, Miller of the 49th, Kennedy of the 18th, and others, a bill relating to fiscal bills. Senate Bill 310 by Senator Harper of the 7th, Gooch of the 51st, Martin of the 9th, House Etler of the 52nd, a bill relating to professions and businesses. Senate Bill 319 by Senator Gannon of the 47th, House Etler of the 52nd, Mullis of the 53rd, Tippins of the 37th, Harper of the 7th, and others, a bill relating to rivers and river basins relative to dam safety. Senate Bill 341 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Duggan of the 30th, Miller of the 49th, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, and others, a bill relating to employment and training of peace officers. Senate Bill 359 by Senator Hofstetler of the 52nd, Tillery of the 19th, Strickland of the 17th, Albers of the 56th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, and others.
Consideration of following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 486 do pass by substitute. House Bill 752 do pass by substitute. House Bill 816 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Powell of the 32nd District, Chairman. Representative Benton of the 31st District, Chairman on Committee on Retirement, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Retirement has added in consideration the following bills of the House and Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 721 do pass. Senate Bill 226 do pass. Senate Bill 47 do pass. Senate Bill 176 do pass. Senate Bill 262 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Benton of the 31st District, Chairman. Representative Belton of the 112th District, Chairman of the Committee on Special Rules, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Special Rules has set under consideration the following resolutions to the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Resolution 929 do pass. House Resolution 933 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Belton of the 112th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Okay, listen up. Listen up. We are going to do one or two invite resolutions. Depending on how quickly they go, will determine how many we do. Because I anticipate by 10:45 to 10:50, we will go into, we will recess to go into joint session. The clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1031.
House Resolution 1031 by Representative Administration of the 104th, a resolution congratulating Hebron Christian Academy's volleyball team for winning the 2019-2020 GHSA Class AAA Private State Volleyball Championship and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Efstration for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great honor to be before you today with the 2020-19 GHSA Class A AA Private School State Championship Volleyball team from Hebron Christian Academy. Up here with me are the seniors of the team, as well as Coach Taylor Davis. And in the gallery, we have the team and the parents. If you would please rise so that we could recognize you. At this time, I'll recognize Rebecca Alariu to speak for the team.
Hello to my fellow constituents. My name is Rebecca Alariu. I'm a senior at Hebron Christian Academy, and I have been on the varsity volleyball team all 4 years of high school with my fellow seniors. And I think we can all attest to the fact that this past season has been by far the most special, not just because of the awards and the accolades and the state championship, which is why we're here, but because of the relationships that we've made and the memories that we've made. Under the leadership of Coach Davis, we've created a culture of family, and on behalf of the Hebron Volleyball family, we want to thank you so much for having us. We're blessed and honored to be here with you all today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, I don't know that we're going to get her. Chair wants to recognize in the gallery a group of students from the University of Georgia School of Social Work with their advisor, Dr. Ed Rissler. Would y'all please stand? Look forward to seeing y'all this afternoon. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1018.
House Resolution 1018 by Representative Kennard of the 102nd, Clark of the 108th, McLean of the 100th, Marin of the 96th, Harrell of the 106th, and others, a resolution commending J. Alvin Wilbanks, CEO and Superintendent of Gwinnett County Public Schools, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Kennard for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gwinnett has been one of the fastest growing and thriving counties in our state and nation for many decades. The primary reason for this combustible attraction is our school system. 1 out of every 10 public school dollars is spent in Gwinnett County, and that is because 1 out of every K through 12 Georgia students are in Gwinnett. Gwinnett County Public Schools is the largest employer in our county and is the largest provider of public transportation in the state, with the exception of MARTA. But Gwinnett County Public Schools not only tout size and quantity, we also produce a quality educational standard by every metric for students and teachers. Forbes ranks our school system number 19 in the U.S. for women to work. 2 of my daughters now teach for GCPS. In the past 5 years, Gwinnett has produced 3 Georgia Principals of the Year, and in 2020, Gwinnett's Corinza Wing was announced National Principal of the Year, a first for Georgia. I could literally go on and on about what makes Gwinnett County Public Schools distinctive, but let me cut to the chase. It's leadership. At the helm of this gigantic and powerfully effective educational system is Alvin Wilbanks. It is not an overstatement to call his body of educational work in Georgia legendary and epic. Starting his career in education in DeKalb County, he was the first president of Gwinnett Technical College in 1984, a school that has thrived ever since. In '96, Mr. Wilbanks became the superintendent of Gwinnett County Public Schools, and from that day to this, it continues to elevate its status as a world-class learning institution. I am pleased with you today to honor with House Resolution 1018 this educational giant and very fine man, Alvin Wilbanks. Would you welcome him, please?
Thank you very much, Representative Kennard, Speaker Ralston, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, Majority Leader Ralph Burns, Minority Leader Bob Trammell. It is a great pleasure to be with you today in this distinguished and august body. I appreciate what you do for education through your legislation as well as through your support and through the budget. One of the things that we can be very proud of in the state of Georgia, education is a priority. It's a priority of this General Assembly. It's a priority of our governor as well as our citizens. Our effort is to make sure that every child gets a quality and effective education, and we will make sure that we continue to do that. With that, let me just conclude by saying to each of you, I humbly ask that you continue doing for the students, their parents, and the citizens of this great state, supporting public education. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 million students that attend public schools. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.25 million teachers that teach in public schools. And some of the best reside here in this great state of Georgia. So with that, let me say it's been an honor to be with you this morning, and thank you for what you do to keep Georgia the best state in our great United States of America. God's blessings on the state of Georgia and the United States of America. Thank you. Speaker, thank you.
Good to have you with us. we will not have time for the third invite resolution. I don't want to rush it through because I anticipate in just a few minutes that the members of the Senate will, after wandering around in the hallway, will find refuge here in our chamber. And we will have the state of the judiciary. We're going to be at ease until the chair calls you back in. If I could have your attention, please. I need to ask everyone who is not a member of the House of Representatives or authorized staff to leave the floor at this time. We got to make sure that we have all of our seating. Only House members and authorized staff are permitted on the floor. Okay, that's a two gavel hit. That means they're on their way. So I'm going to ask the members of the House give up the comfort of the anteroom and begin to find your seats.
Hey, Holly. Did you see my text? Yeah, they come down the middle, the judges. Okay.
Madam Doorkeeper, just a moment, please. Members of the House, for about the fourth time, please take your seats. Madam Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the President Pro Tem, the members of the Senate await entrance to the House chamber.
Madam Doorkeeper, please allow the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate to enter the House chamber, and the messenger will escort them to their designated seats.
And I forgot.
I was telling the Lieutenant Governor that the House is a very spirited bunch today. Let's see if we can sort of contain that here just for a while, okay? This House and Senate and joint session will come to order. Come to order, please. We're about to have some other distinguished guests come in. It is my distinct honor at this time to introduce to you a former member of this body and now the Lieutenant Governor of our state, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be back here. Members of the General Assembly, the joint session will come to order. All members, I would ask that you take your seats. All members, please take your seats. Mr. Sergeant of Arms.
Mr. President, the Honorable Harold Melton, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Justices of the Supreme Court, and the judges of the Court of Appeal await entrance to the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant at Arms, please allow the Honorable Harold Melton, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Justices of the Supreme Court, and the judges of the Court of Appeals access to this chamber. The House Messenger will escort them to their seats. All members, please take your seats. I would ask that all members and guests please take your seats. Will the Secretary read a resolution?
House Resolution 1170 by Representative Burns of the 159th and others. A resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each other Justice of the Supreme Court and each Judge of the Court of Appeals to be present at the joint session. Be it resolved by the General Assembly of Georgia that the Honorable Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is hereby invited to address the joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate at 11 o'clock a.m. Wednesday, February 26, 2020, in the Hall of the House of Representatives. And be it further resolved that a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate be held in the Hall of the House of Representatives at 10:45 a.m. on the aforesaid date for the purpose of hearing an address from the Chief Justice. Be it further resolved that each other Justice of the Supreme Court and each Judge of the Court of Appeals is hereby invited to the Hall of Representatives for the purpose of hearing the address from the Chief Justice. Be it further resolved that the Clerk of the House is authorized and directed to transmit appropriate copies of this resolution to the Chief Justice, to each other Justice of the Supreme Court, and to each Judge of the Court of Appeals. That completes the order.
I'd like to recognize some very special people that we have here today. Would you please stand when your name is called and be recognized? First, I'd like to start out with a good friend and Speaker of the House, David Ralston. Speaker Pro Tem, Jan Jones. President Pro Tem of the Senate, Butch Miller. Constitutional officers of the great state of Georgia. Justices of the Supreme Court. Judges of the Court of Appeals. And members of the Consular Corps. Everyone would please take your seats. It is at this time my honor and great pleasure to introduce to you a great Georgian, the Honorable Harold Melton, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia. Justice Melton was appointed to the Supreme Court by Governor Sonny Perdue in 2015 and was sworn in as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court on September 4th, 2019. Prior to joining the court, Justice Melton served 11 years in the Department of Law, where he dealt with issues ranging from the creation of the Georgia Lottery Corporation to the administration of the Georgia Tobacco Settlement. He rose to become section leader over the Consumer Interest Division of the Department of Law. In January of 2013, Justice Melton was tapped by Governor Perdue to become his executive counsel. Justice Melton is a widely respected jurist. He received his Bachelor of Science degree from Auburn University and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Georgia. His superior legal skills were manifest in a host of issues, including Georgia's water rights dispute with Alabama and Florida, criminal justice reform, and consumer rights. This busy jurist also finds time to give back to his community by serving on the national boards for Young Life Ministries, the local board of Atlanta Youth Academies, and as a youth leader for Southwest Christian Fellowship Church. Justice Melton lives in Atlanta with his lovely wife, Kimberly, and their 3 children. It is my great honor to present to you the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court, the Honorable Harold Melton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Thank you. They stand when we walk into a courtroom, but they don't applaud, so thank you very much. Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Speaker Ralston, President Pro Tem Miller, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, constitutional officers, my fellow judges, ladies and gentlemen. Each day that I go to work, from whatever angle I approach, I am struck by the majesty of the first state building in Georgia's history dedicated solely to the judiciary. I enter the new Nathan Deal Judicial Center with awe and humility, mindful that all of us who work here and all who work in the judicial system statewide are united for a single purpose: to uphold the rule of law and render impartial justice to all Georgia citizens, regardless of their circumstances. Once I get into my office, I'm struck by the view out my window, a view that looks appropriately upward with respect toward the equally majestic state capitol building. Today, I say thank you to you on behalf of my colleagues in the judiciary for your support and investment in the judicial branch of government. I thank Governor Brian Kemp and I thank former Governor Nathan Deal for their roles in making so many people's dreams become a reality. The Nathan Deal Judicial Center is more than a building. It is a monument to the rule of law, a symbol of justice for all, and a promise to you and to the citizens of this great state. I hope that you look at this new building as it graces Atlanta's landscape with pride and a hope for all that is to come, just as I do. The recent move from our old building on Mitchell Street, just around the corner, was a time to reflect on where we have been and where we are headed in a new building that's constructed to last for 100 years. We are not where we once were. When the courtroom that we just vacated was dedicated in 1956, a photo captured the court's 7 justices standing at the bench where our court has sat since that time. The photo shows them leaning down from that familiar bench, shaking hands with former governor, then Governor Marvin Griffin, and former Governor Herman Talmadge. I was struck by that photo because all 7 justices were white men, not varying much even in terms of height or weight, sort of like judicial Rockettes. Our court is different now, and I was also struck by the speeches of that day. Former Governor Herman Talmadge stated that he took comfort knowing that the Georgia Supreme Court refuses to bow supinely before those who would substitute their own twisted notions of right and wrong for law and precedent. The speakers praised and urged Georgia's highest court to stand firm against the usurpation of local authority. They were talking about Brown versus the Board of Education and the forced desegregation that was being imposed by the United States Supreme Court and federal authorities. They spoke that day about upholding the rule of law, just as we do here today. So we know from our history that we as judges and lawmakers have not always gotten it right. That reminder urges us to remain vigilant, realizing that the divisions of the past could easily impede our efforts to move forward together. My friend and colleague on the Supreme Court, Justice Robert Benham, recently said, "We can't let the evils of our yesterdays use up our tomorrows. As a people, we have more in common than things that separate us." So how will we do in this new building that has been designed to last 100 years? On the last day of oral arguments in our old building on November 7, 2019, I asked the question, how has that building served us since it opened for business in 1956? I hope that 100 years from now, someone will ask that question of our new building. My hope and prayer is that the answer will be that because the people who worked there lived up to the highest ideals and the rule of law and embodies, and our new building expires, that they'll be able to speak well of our role in the new building. And I am confident that we are off to a fine start. I have the privilege of working alongside some of the best legal minds and the most committed public servants and the finest men and women whom I've ever worked with. Presiding Justice David Namias, Justice Robert Benham, Justice Keith Blackwell, Justice Michael Boggs, Justice Nels Peterson, Justice Sarah Warren, Justice Charlie Bethel, and Justice John Ellington. I am so grateful for them and for my friends and colleagues on the Court of Appeals, as well as the many dedicated and hardworking judges across this great state. Folks, I'm proud to say that we have a professional statewide judiciary. When Justice Clarence Thomas of the United States Supreme Court came earlier this month to help dedicate our new building, he said that upholding and protecting the rule of law takes great courage and is not for the faint of heart, as it often leads to unpopular decisions. I assure you today that Georgia's judges are men and women of great courage and discipline, and together they fill me with a certainty that we can and will do better, both in the immediate and distant future. As with any endeavor, however, there are challenges ahead for the bar and the judicial system, and we will need your help in meeting them head on. We must continue to do better to ensure that all Georgia citizens, rich and poor, have access to justice. 6 years ago, in giving this annual State of the Judiciary address, then Chief Justice Hugh Thompson pronounced that Georgia's judicial system was sound and strong, but then he added, for those who can afford a lawyer. Too many of our citizens cannot afford legal representation in civil matters. Our economy has continued to improve. Georgia's poverty rate has dropped to 14.3%, but it remains higher than the United States average according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Today, more than 1.5 million Georgians live below the poverty level, defined as a family of four that earns no more than $26,200 per year. But even those of middle income have difficulty affording lawyers. And as Chief Justice Thompson pointed out, they too encounter numerous legal problems. They include the mom and pop grocery store owner with a contract dispute, the father dying from cancer who must finalize guardianships for his young children, our wounded warriors returning from battle who can't access the disability benefits our government has promised, and our elderly citizens who have numerous legal needs, including the fundamental need to protect their own safety and health. In the criminal context, citizens are afforded representation regardless of their ability to pay. But in civil matters such as these, they are not. In the face of these needs, our courts have seen a growing number of people who are representing themselves. Today, the number of self-represented litigants in Georgia coming to our courts has reached well over 1 million. When people represent themselves, their unfamiliarity with the law and court procedures often results in frustration for all involved, rescheduled and protracted hearings, and other inefficiencies that consume valuable state resources and local resources as well. Our legal system is an adversarial system. People win and people lose. Citizens who represent themselves more often will lose. I want to tell you today about an exciting evolution that's beginning to take hold in our courts around Georgia and across the nation. We have a system of law libraries in this state. Historically, law libraries were places where judges and lawyers went to do legal research. For generations, students of the law have sat amongst rows of legal opinions and writings bound up in books as they learn the intricacies of the law. During my time as a law student and in the early years as I practiced law, those books were my constant companion, or at least they should have been. That paradigm has quickly faded, and many law libraries today sit all but abandoned as monuments
to legal tomes void of lawyers. Today, legal professionals do their research at their desk in a digital world where libraries come to life at their fingertips with a keyboard. Today, just about the only people who go into law libraries are non-lawyers. In 2018, the National Center for State Courts selected the Dougherty County Law Library as a pilot legal self-help project, one of 7 states chosen to advance the goal of providing civil justice for all. Under the leadership of Chief Judge Willie Lockett, today, Dougherty County operates a law library self-help center in Albany, assisting an average of 40 self-represented litigants each day. As a regional project, it has assisted people from more than 91 Georgia counties. A survey of judges familiar with that project showed that 100% found that self-represented litigants assisted by the project took up less court time and resources than those who did not receive help. Within a month, Fulton County Superior Court will unveil its state-of-the-art Justice Resource Center. This center, under the leadership of former Chief Judge Robert McBurney and current Chief Judge Christopher Brasher, will offer thousands of self-represented litigants a one-stop shop where they can come and get help to navigate the legal complex process. The idea of the center came several years ago when the court administrators one day noticed a clearly battered woman carrying a baby with some difficulty. They could see that she needed help, but they realized that to get help, first she would need to go and to the law library and do her own legal research, and then go to a separate building to get a temporary protective order, all with a baby in tow. Now, the Fulton County Law Library, its Family Information Center, and other court services are being relocated together in one room. And as Chief Brasher said, we don't want people just casting about in a complex system, not knowing what to do. 6 computers will offer how-to videos covering topics such as how to file for divorce or respond to an eviction notice. At the Justice Resource Center, they will be able to schedule appointments with attorneys from Atlanta Legal Aid who are under contract with the county. They will get help filling out forms to petition for legitimation, divorce, child support, or child custody. And those who do not speak English will receive language assistance. Last year, over 3,500 citizens filed applications for temporary protective orders in Fulton County. Approximately 90% of them did so without lawyers. In addition, Chief Judge Brasher said that court officials started noticing that many times the victims of domestic violence were followed into court by their abusers. So they create a special protected area in the Judicial Resource Center for those victims and their children that can only be accessed by a card key. Court administrators envision that victims of elder abuse will also be able to take refuge in this locked space. The evolution of stagnant law libraries into vital self-help resource centers already has a partial funding base. Law libraries are largely funded through assessed court fees, a portion which goes into each county's law library fund. Funds available to larger counties are much greater than those available to Georgia's smaller, more rural counties. Yet a number of our smaller counties have no lawyers at all, and they too could benefit from a regional self-help resource center. And a self-help video produced in North Georgia can easily be made available and be just as helpful to self-represented litigants in South Georgia. As head of Georgia's judicial branch, I'm asking my colleague, Justice Charlie Bethel, along with Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney, to lead an ad hoc committee that will explore and promote best practices for refashioning law libraries across the state to meet today's needs. Self-help resource centers such as those in Fulton and Dougherty counties have the potential to embody the new role of Georgia's law libraries, a place where citizens will gain greater access to our legal system. Technology can help us ensure access to justice in Georgia. Already, it is helping bring efficiency and cost savings in our courts. Thanks to your legislation just over a year ago, mandatory electronic filing went into effect statewide in our state and superior courts. And I can report to you today that the sky did not fall. Other than daily hiccups, we are up and running across the state without major difficulties. I'm not hearing any huge outcries, and I consider that to be a good thing. We've made great progress, but we must not rest on our laurels, or we could wind up generations behind. Technology changes so fast that we must continue to innovate and improve. We know that technology holds promise for helping us be more efficient in our work and for helping us better serve underserved communities. But we also know that technology brings new challenges. In the last 2 years, we have seen a growing number of ransomware attacks on governmental agencies in Georgia. These attacks have heightened the need for cybersecurity in all 3 branches of government, including the judicial branch. Ransomware attacks use malware to lock out users, generally under a demand for payment. I liken it to having your keys stolen from your car. You can still see your car, but you can't get into it to drive it. You needed an encryption code to unlock the system, but the thieves have that code and they demand money to give it up. As you know, in March of 2018, the city of Atlanta suffered a massive cyber attack. The Georgia Department of Public Safety was also a target, and there have been others. Last June, the Georgia Administrative Office of the Courts was a target of a major ransomware attack. Some courts that had their electronic files saved on the AOC server lost access to all their electronic records. Entire case files dating back 20 years or more were gone in an instant. Reconstruction and recovery has been an ongoing effort in many of those courts. Much of the judiciary survived the attack unscathed, but this is the future operating environment for all of us. I want to thank you for your support thus far in helping the judiciary protect itself against future attacks. Last fall, I established a committee chaired by Judge Christian Coomer of the Georgia Court of Appeals to identify, mitigate, and ensure against the risks and vulnerabilities in the state's judicial networks. The Cybersecurity Committee includes and engages cybersecurity experts, physical security professionals, lawyers who specialize in privacy and data security, judges, and clerks of court. My expectation is that the committee will help produce tools and solutions that will safeguard the vital information Georgians entrusts to their judicial branch of government. Based on this work, our Cybersecurity Committee will be making specific recommendations in the near future for protecting the judicial branch of government. We will be in touch with you in the next year with how you can help. In addition to these systemic problems, another challenge we face in the judiciary is how to respond to individuals with serious mental health problems. I want to applaud Governor Kemp and you, the Georgia legislature, for creating the Behavioral Health Innovation and Reform Commission. We in the judiciary pledge our support and willingness to work diligently with the governor, with you, and with the commission to reduce the number of people with behavioral health issues who wind up in our jails and prisons. Under House Bill 514, the commission has been given a broad and sweeping mission to conduct a comprehensive review of the behavioral health system in Georgia and make recommendations for reforming it. Among the charges, the commission has been asked to identify the ways behavioral health problems lead to entanglement with the criminal justice system. 4 judges serve on that 24-member commission. Supreme Court Justice Michael Boggs chairs the commission's subcommittee on mental health, courts, and corrections, which is charged with reviewing the impact behavioral health issues have on the court system and correctional system. Chief Judge Brian Amera of the Henry County Superior Court chairs the Commission's Subcommittee on Involuntary Commitments. The work of the Commission is the next logical step as we strive to work unceasingly to improve our criminal justice system. We know that people with mental illness and co-occurring substance use disorders are overrepresented in our jails. Taking Macon-Bibb County as an example, 18% of the jail population is made up of people with a serious mental health diagnosis, compared to 5% of the general population. Those with a mental health diagnosis stay in jail nearly twice as long and have nearly 3 times the recidivism rate. Our judges have responded. In just 5 years, the number of participants served by Georgia's mental health courts has more than doubled, from 896 in 2014 to 2,112 participants in 2019. Under our leadership, judges have led the charge towards mental health courts and reduce recidivism, save taxpayer dollars. For every $1 invested in mental health court in Georgia, there is a savings of $6.03. We understand that it is important to address behavioral health problems before they manifest themselves in the criminal justice system, and I am confident that this is what the Commission will help us to do. As a judge, as a father, and as a leader in Young Life Ministries, I believe we must particularly focus on our young people. We have the means to detect when young men and young women are on a path towards trouble with the law, whether due to problems at home or at school, mental health issues, or drug addictions. The challenge continues to be whether we will wait until they enter the criminal justice system before we tackle those problems in a holistic way. As the state turns its attention to criminal gang activity, I encourage us to also pay attention to identifying juveniles going down this destructive path so we can steer them in a different direction. In Fulton County, District Attorney Paul Howard and Public Defender Vernon Pitts, often adversaries in the criminal justice process, are working together with the juvenile court to identify 13 to 16-year-olds who have already committed 3 nonviolent offenses. They intend to intervene in their lives before they graduate into the adult criminal justice system. So far, they have identified about 52 kids who fit their parameters. The goal is to introduce them to a life that's different, a different direction, and a different path. Called Level Up, the program is modeled after a similar program operating in Chicago and New York. Once the program is fully operational, their staff will pick up the young people each morning and take them to school. After school, staff will take them to a special center that is funded by the Atlanta Police Foundation, where they'll be fed. Tutors will help them with their schoolwork, and they'll participate in sports and other activities until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And then staff will return them to their homes at a time where a parent is more likely to be there to help supervise. The program staff will visit homes to see what's really going on. And about 11 churches have volunteered to provide mentors to spend time with these young people as they navigate life's issues. Kids who join gangs most often are looking for family, for belonging. In Chicago, where the program has been up and running, the recidivism rate has gone down by 73%. In New York, it has dropped by 69%. I believe that this type of program can make a difference in our communities, keep kids out of gangs, and put them on a better path towards a life of meaning and purpose. In addition to dealing with the behavioral health of people coming into our criminal justice system, I'm also concerned about the mental health of our judges and our lawyers. Our own dirty secret is that the job of dealing with society's problems, in addition to our own, sometimes takes its toll. We are often not healthy ourselves. I commend the State Bar of Georgia and our law schools for reaching out to lawyers and law students and offering confidential services and counseling to those who need help with depression, stress, alcohol, drug abuse, and psychological issues. Mental health issues affect us all, either directly or indirectly. In April, our Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism will convene a suicide awareness program. It will be a statewide conversation among our entire legal community. Sally Quillian Yates, who lost her father to suicide, will moderate the program. This is an issue we cannot afford to ignore. We, in the appellate courts, were hit particularly hard last year with the loss of our own Judge Stephen Goss on the Court of Appeals, who died from suicide. Ironically, Judge Goss founded the state's first felony mental health court in Dougherty County in 2002. Judge Goss's death last summer reminds us all that we cannot assume we always know what's going on in the personal lives of others. It reminds us of how important it is to reach out and care for one another and learn specific ways we can respond to people we suspect might be considering taking their own lives. It also reminds us that we as a society still struggle to lift the stigma of mental illness that stands as a barrier preventing so many from getting the help they need. Hopefully, in the next 100 years, we will do better. I am confident that we will. I began today's address by telling you that we are not where we were in 1956. We are a different court now than when our first court convened in the building that we have left behind. We are a different state. It has become customary during addresses such as these to point to the gallery and recognize someone special who is worthy of special recognition. I have intentionally refrained from doing that. Today, rather than point to someone in the gallery, I point to someone who is seated right here in front with the rest of my colleagues. No one personifies Georgia's growth and evolution towards a professional judiciary better than Justice Robert Benham of the Supreme Court of Georgia. As I said at our dedication ceremony earlier this month, he is the father of the modern court, a court that is truly dedicated to the principle that all men and women are equal and stand equal in the eyes of the law. The day after tomorrow marks the last day Justice Benham will serve as a judge of his beloved Georgia, after nearly 36 years on the Court of Appeals and the Georgia Supreme Court. That means, folks, that he has endured 32 State of the Judiciary addresses, having personally inflicted 4 of them upon you in his own right when he was Chief Justice. Justice Benham grew up in the hills of North Georgia in Cartersville, where he still lives. As a boy, he saw his father cry for the first time after the family was turned away from an amusement park called Storyland. They had seen it advertised on TV, but his father hadn't realized that the park was for whites only. As a young man, Justice Benham worked in state government for the first time as an intern for then Governor Lester Maddox. We know of Governor Maddox's segregationist history, but as is his way, the young Robert Benham found a way to build a bridge and grew to be respected by the governor. In 1989, then Governor Joe Frank Harris appointed him as the first African American to sit on this state's highest court. In Justice Benham's own words, here's how he described that day. I thought that moment represented not necessarily a remarkable accomplishment on my part, but a remarkable accomplishment on the state's part. That's typical of Justice Benham. He often endured walking into rooms where people closely assessed whether to take him seriously. He overcame doubts by employing two primary tools. First, he was always nice. And second, he was always bigger than the situation. He took the high road, never giving tit for tat, striving for common ground. He suffered slights gracefully, never lost his temper, never raised his voice, never took things personally. He remained singularly focused on his goal and always moved forward. Justice Benham is a pillar in our state's history, and one of my greatest highlights in life has been the privilege of having served with him on this court. The last day that Justice Benham presided over oral arguments, we later celebrated with staff and the entire court. His wife, Nell, was there, and their two children were there, and the justices and judges were there. Ms. Nell said that she was very proud of him for all his accomplishments, and she thanked us. But most of all, she wanted us to know what a good husband and a father he'd always been. He is truly a good man, she said. Justice Benham, we will never forget you. The state will never forget you. I will never forget you. Now, your wife is here today. I know you tried to leave her behind, but she is here. And I ask you now, Ms. Nell and Justice Benham, to both stand so we can thank you once more for your great service. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen of the General Assembly, I want to personally thank you for the partnership and cooperation that we have with you for the cause of justice. It is an honor to serve with each one of you as we work together to hammer out these tough but meaningful issues. God bless you all, and may God bless the great state of Georgia.
Thank you, Chief Justice, for those words. Thank you for your reflection, but thank you so much for your vision forward. Thank you very much. Mr. Sergeant at Arms, please escort the Chief Justice, the Justices of the Supreme Court, and the judges of the Court of Appeals from the chamber at this time. This time, I'd like to recognize the President Pro Tem for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that this joint session of the Georgia House of Representatives and the Georgia Senate be hereby dissolved.
The President Pro Tem has moved that this joint session be dissolved. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. And the ayes clearly have it. This joint session is hereby dissolved.
This House will come back to order. House will come back to order. We've still got one invite resolution, and we have a rules calendar. It's the chair's intention that we're going to go till we finish. House will come to order. Chairman Hogan, you know that as part of your review for tomorrow's journal that you need to reread the Chief Justice's speech a few times, don't you?
Mr. Speaker, I'll be up all night.
That's what I was afraid of. calendar. For your planning purposes, it's also the chair's intention after this invite resolution to go on to the rules calendar. That's why we're here, is to pass bills. And then if people still want to do morning orders, we'll kind of take those up near the end. If you want to come off the list today, we won't take offense at that. Ready.
House Resolution 926 by Representative Couch to the 50th, Gardner the 57th, Smith the 70th, Gilligan to the 24th, and Anulowicz the 42nd. A resolution recognizing Dr. Heike Fuller for her achievements in promoting diplomatic relations between the state of Georgia, the southeast region of the United States of America, and the Federal Republic of Germany, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes, just a moment. We have a very special and distinguished guest. And we have a chair, I think, for everyone that's a member of the House. And if you're missing a chair, then please come up here and let us know. Otherwise, when you're in the chamber and we have guests, use your chair. Chair recognizes Representative Couch for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to give you a special thank you for the flexibility that we can give Dr. Heike Fuller, the Consul General for Germany in Atlanta, the time to address the Chamber. I'm very proud to introduce Dr. Heike Fuller to you and commending her for her achievements in promoting diplomatic relations between the state of Georgia and the southeast region of the United States and the Federal Republic of Germany, which is the second largest trading partner with Georgia. Dr. Fuller was appointed Consul General for Germany in Atlanta in 2018 following a 4-year assignment as Deputy Head of Mission in Lisbon, Portugal. She has a long record of service to the international community and a vested commitment to the state. She has devoted her life to international diplomacy, community service through innovative initiatives, cross-cultural engagement, and providing a comprehensive image of Germany as a modern, future-oriented, and open-minded country. Today, Dr. Fuller is here, accompanied by one of her staff members. Her family, unfortunately, couldn't make it. They are on vacation, as I understand. And I hope you will welcome Dr. Fuller, who would like the opportunity to address the chamber. Thank you very much.
Speaker Ralston, representatives, it's a real honor to be here today. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Representative Angelika Kausche for inviting me and bestowing such a great honor on me. My partner is also your partner. This is a motto made Bavaria and Georgia very close partners in 2008 within a network of first 3 and today 7 power regions on 4 continents. The visit of Governor Kemp and his delegation to Bavaria and other parts of Germany in January highlighted again the very strong economic relationship between Georgia and Bavaria in this framework and beyond. We are very grateful that Georgia, with its thriving innovative ecosystem, its business-friendly environment, and its great reputation as a logistic hub, fosters strong economic and cultural bonds with my country. Roughly 50 million Americans are of German descent, the largest single ethnic group of all. Traces of German heritage can be found all over the US, with hundreds of German heritage associations and German-style Christmas markets. The more than 20 years of town twinning between the vibrant city of Atlanta and Nuremberg in Bavaria made it possible that the original Nuremberg Christkind not only opened the Christkindl market in Nuremberg, but also the one in Atlanta in December last year. The many people-to-people contacts within this lively city partnership are an amazing platform for urban diplomacy and the future development of our cities, complemented by regular shipping services offered by the ports of Savannah and Brunswick to Bremerhaven and Hamburg, daily direct flights from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport to Frankfurt, Munich, Stuttgart, and Düsseldorf. In Georgia, the #1 state to do business, all know that trade and investments are leading the way to grow our respective economies and make our economic relations strong and prosperous. We are very grateful being a partner of Georgia's economic success. Germany is one of Georgia's top 3 investment partners, is currently the 4th largest export market for Georgia, and ranks 2nd among Georgia's importer nations. We appreciate very much that our Georgian and American friends and the American workforce highly value the investments made by more than 3,000 German companies in the US, among them in Georgia over 500, mainly small and medium-sized companies like Bender, Blickle, Diefenbacher, Grenzebacher, Hansgrohe, Koch, Meyer, Sellet, W&K, and many others scattered all over Georgia. In total, nearly 800,000 well-paying jobs are created by German investments in the US, and people on the ground rightly expect that these jobs are safe and not being threatened by trade differences in the transatlantic relations. Thank you very much for maintaining such strong relations with Germany, and thank you very much again for the honor and your continuous support. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Good morning, everyone. We have Dr. Delphine Head is our Doctor of the Day. She's a family practice doctor. She got her degree from the doctorate degree from the University of South Alabama, the College of Medicine, and completed her internship at Morehouse School of Medicine. And she has chosen to be a family practitioner because she just loves taking care of families. So with that, please help me to welcome the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Representative Bruce. And thank all of you for the warm welcome. It is an honor to be a part of this great tradition and serve as Doctor of the Day. I am employed for the Southeast Permanente Medical Group, and we care for Kaiser Permanente members. While some of you may not be familiar with our practice, we are the largest physician-owned, physician-led medical group in Atlanta. I and the other 800 members of my group work with you, not an insurance company, to make your care decisions. This has been our model for 70 years, and I'm proud to be a part of that tradition. As an Atlanta native, I have passed this building many, many times. I've lost count. So it's an honor to actually be able to serve in this building, and it means more than words can say. Thank you again for your warm welcome, and I look forward to serving you. And you'll be excited to know there is no co-payments involved today. No co-payments.
We are now going on to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 799.
House Bill 799 by Representative Blackman and the 146th to be entitled an act to amend Article 3A of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to suspension of license for being in control of a moving vehicle under the influence of a controlled substance. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Blackman to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fellow members, bring before you today House Bill 799, which would give judges the same level of discretion with a DUI drug conviction as they now have in a DUI alcohol conviction with regards to a driving permit on a temporary basis. And just for a little bit of background, constituent had an issue regarding a prescription drug that she took as prescribed, was picked up the following morning on a DUI drug charge, and she drives as a part of her job, and she found out later that had she been drinking, she would have been allowed potentially by the judge at his discretion a permit to drive on a temporary basis. But under this particular charge, she was not. So this bill is designed to correct that. I do want to thank the PAC and the criminal defense attorneys for vetting this, and also Chairman Setzler and Chairman Efstration for the necessary vetting at the committee level, along with the bill sponsors. Mr. Speaker, that's the bill in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
You have a question if you care to yield.
Yes, sir, I will yield.
Chair recognizes Chairman Efstration to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your presentation. In similar mode to the minority leader's question from yesterday, will you please confirm to the House that House Bill 799 in no way impacts the tax code?
Such is confirmed, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Good bill. Thank you.
You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will ask for the body's favorable consideration and yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 799 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 799, the ayes are 159, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 521.
House Bill 521 by Representative Gaines, the 117th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 43, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to licenses for the practice of dentistry. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Gaines to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 521 allows non-Georgia licensed dentists and dental hygienists to apply for a temporary limited volunteer license to practice dentistry in Georgia under the direct supervision of a Georgia licensed dentist at free and charitable events. These licenses are valid for non-Georgia licensed dentists and dental hygienists who are in good standing with their home state and for a period of up to 5 days as long as care is provided on a volunteer basis and free to the patients. These dentists and dental hygienists will be overseen by a Georgia dentist with a ratio of up to 4 to 1 non-Georgia dentists to non-Georgia dentists and dental hygienists to a Georgia dentist. We work with the Georgia Dental Association to craft the language that will best support low-income patients across the state. The Dental Association does such great work by providing these charity clinics across Georgia. For low-income patients, dentistry is often one of the greatest challenges, and this legislation will provide one more avenue to provide quality care free of charge. Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You have a couple of questions if you care to yield.
I will.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hawkins to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Will this bill, this piece of legislation you have, increase access to health care for poor Georgians?
It will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question.
Do you further yield?
I do for one more question.
Chair recognizes Representative Cannon to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
I do.
Can you speak to how this will affect pregnant people across the state of Georgia?
Well, the legislation would allow pregnant or otherwise low-income patients to get this care at these free and charitable events across the state.
Do you further yield?
I do.
And so then are these generally the services that are taken care of by pregnancy Medicaid, or does pregnancy Medicaid not cover this?
These charitable clinics will be for low-income patients who meet in the Georgia Code, there's a list of what would qualify for low-income patients, and I'm happy to walk through all the qualifications if that'd be helpful, but this legislation would apply to those patients. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Gentleman has yielded the will. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 521. The ayes are 160, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The clerk will read the caption to House Bill 893. What purpose does Chairman Blackman rise?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move that House Bill 715 be returned to the Ways and Means Committee.
After this bill. Oh, she told me. Yeah. You withdraw that for now?
I do, sir.
All right. You got great potential.
House Bill 893 by Representative Gamble, the 15th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-117 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Special Insurance Fund, Fraud Fund, so as to reduce the frequency of assessments. This bill having referred to the Committee on Insurance, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Gamble to present the bill. Just a minute, gentlemen. Evidently, some of you don't wish to hear the presentations of the bills, and that certainly, as a great believer in liberty, that's your privilege. But there might be those that do, so the chair is going to ask that if you're in the chamber, be seated and give respect to the members in the well as you would like to have if you were in the well on your bill. A really novel concept. Chair recognizes Representative Gamble to present the bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I stand before you today with House Bill 893. This is a bill that the Department of Insurance brought to us requesting a change to be made in the wording for the Official Code of Georgia to reflect the current practice that they are already doing at the Department of Insurance with regards to collection of the premium fee for the Special Fraud Fund. It will go from being collected quarterly to annually. That's all this does. The fee is still collected. It's still the same amount, but rather than collecting it quarterly, it will just be annually. And I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any, Mr. Speaker.
You have questions if you care to yield.
I will take one, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do.
Could these funds, the fraud funds, be used for consumers whose insurance companies place defrauded home repair companies that are not registered with the Secretary of State, that they place them on their insurance website? And so if that insurance, if the consumer feel that the insurance company has defrauded them because of companies they placed on their website, could these funds be used for that as well?
I'm sure the gentlelady knows what she speaks. As far as what this bill does and the usage of those funds, I know that Commissioner King is with us today, and he'd be happy to answer the specific question. But all this does is just change the collection of these funds, which are currently being collected in the code from quarterly to annually. That's all this bill does. Mr. Speaker,
You have another question if you care to yield.
I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 893 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 893, the ayes are 164, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. I'm sorry, for what purpose does Chairman Blackman rise?
Make a motion.
State your motion.
I'd like to move that House Bill 715 be recommitted to the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, my roommate has rubbed off on me a little bit with regard to these type of procedural issues.
The minority leader might object to that. He was expecting to vote on it today, weren't you? Gentleman has moved that House Bill 715 be recommitted to the Ways and Means Committee. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 715 by Representative Blackman and the 146 and others be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 13, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to general provisions regarding specific business and occupational taxes.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 715 be recommitted to the Ways and Means Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Okay, we're going on now to morning orders. Once again, not trying to influence your decision, but if you choose not to do one, that just means we get to go to lunch sooner. Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Nix, Representative Collins, and Representative Cook. They waive. Chair recognizes Chairman Martin for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want the members of the Higher Ed Committee and the Higher Ed Appropriations Committee to know that the independent colleges are down in 125 of the Capitol. They may still have some lunch down there. Earlier today, they had plenty of lunch, but it may be gone. But stop by on the way. Also, we have a Higher Ed meeting at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative McLeod for a morning order. Chair neglected to say earlier, I will now 1 minute each for morning orders.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, and big up to my colleagues. For my Black History Moment, I will be telling you about 5 things that African inventors did that changed the world. First, speech. The first words ever spoken by humans occurred in sub-Saharan Africa during the Middle Stone Age. This is supported by genetic, archaeology, paleontology, and more evidence. The oldest known possible mathematical object is the Lombando bones, which was discovered in the Lombimbo Mountains of Swaziland, dated approximately 35,000 BC. Many of the math concepts we use today in schools came from the ancient Egyptians. Navigation. Evidence suggests that ancient Africans sailed to South America and Asia hundreds of years before the Europeans, debunking the propaganda that Europeans were the first to sail in the Americas. Here's to Africa, the birthplace of the human race. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Dubnik for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The hour is late, but the subject is important. I'm here today to recognize my favorite constituent from the 29th District. Last Thursday, the Gainesville JCs presented their annual Young Man and Young Woman Award, a tradition that goes back to 1945. This award is given to someone who has passionately dedicated themselves to our community and recognized those who believe that service to humanity is the best work of life. This year's young woman was described as kind, caring, compassionate, and loving. She's an entrepreneur, a sister, a daughter, a mother to 2 wonderful little boys, and a wife to the person who is speaking these words to you now. My wife, Katie, is so deserving of this award, and I'm here today to tell you how proud I am. However, Mr. Speaker, I was put in a pickle. Governor Kemp and Senator Miller both sent resolutions congratulating her, yet I had no such resolution. So I'm here today in front of God, country, and the Georgia House of Representatives to tell my wife how proud I am of her. And furthermore, I want to tell her thank you for putting up with me since 1999. And Mr. Speaker, today is our 15th wedding anniversary, so I'll simply tell her that I love her, and I hope she's watching. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Pruitt for a morning order. Chairman Pruitt. Chair recognizes Representative Scott for a morning order. She waves. Chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we recognize Rural Health Day at the Capitol. I believe we have some folks up in the gallery. Thank you. Thank you to all of those that care about our rural communities and their health. According to Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce, 78 counties in Georgia have no general surgeons. And what are we doing about it? I'd like to share what Georgia's only state public medical school, the Medical College of Georgia, and Augusta University are doing. Augusta University has a rural surgery program where it allows the rural surgery programs to have more hands-on, and they are delivering surgical services into other places besides Augusta. And this is attracting more doctors and new doctors to open their practices in rural Georgia. They see a higher volume and a much lower acuity cases to help them train better. The Medical College of Georgia 3+ programs allows family practitioners to graduate in 3 years, go immediately into residency, and they will be eligible for loan forgiveness. This is growing our workforce of medical care in the rural communities. And the rural emergency room, they have carts that are prepared by the college that has electronic devices where testing can be done, and they can actually, 5 different communities and ER rooms have mobile carts, where these are in Wills Memorial Hospital in Washington, Emmanuel Medical Center in Swainsboro, Washington County Regional Medical Center in Sandersville, Miller County Hospital in Colquitt, and Crisp Regional Hospital in Cordele. These teleelectronics allow those ER doctors to have the experts on the other end of that electronic hookup. Thank you to all those that are helping South Georgia's rural communities. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bennett for a morning order.
Good morning and good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to recognize the Atlanta Business League, the President Leona Barr Davenport. The Atlanta Business League is one of Atlanta's oldest minority business development and advocacy organizations. Today it is my honor to recognize them, the exact organization that recognized Metro Therapy Providers, my business, 30 years ago, and so today I get the honor to recognize them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. Today I'd like to introduce you to Karena. Karena is 15. She is a loving child who respects her elders and is looking forward to going to college in the near future. Karena is looking for her forever family, and she looks to start a new life when she finds that person. Introducing Karena, she is one of many, many children who are available for adoption today in Georgia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today we were visited by Seven Pillars Career Academy, the first charter school authorized by Clayton County Public Schools in 10 years. So we were excited to have them here. They've had some struggles starting up as a new charter school, but they are persevering. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What purpose does Representative Schofield rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask that House Bill 1010.
What's your purpose in rising?
I'd like to make a motion.
State your motion.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I ask that HB 1010 be moved from Judiciary to Industry and Labors. Both chairmen are in agreement.
The lady has moved that House Bill 1010 be transferred from the Judiciary to the Industry and Labor Committee. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 1010 by Representative Schofield, the 60th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 83201 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, Article 1 of Chapter 1 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, and others, to protecting individuals from discrimination in housing.
On the lady's motion that House Bill 1010 be transferred from the Judiciary Committee to the Industry and Labor Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Recognizing and commending Georgia State University's Legislative Health Policy Certificate Program and Advanced Health Policy Institute. Recognizing March 4th, 2020 as Awesome Girls Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing and commending Victoria Collins. Recognizing and commending Giving Kitchens for receiving the 2019 James Beard Humanitarian of the Year Award. Commending Bloom Our Youth. Recognizing and commending Reverend Richard Allen. Recognizing and commending Reverend David G. Spees. Recognizing and commending Reverend Valerie Allen Thompson. Recognizing and commending Reverend Tommy Lee Benjamin. Congratulating and commending Pino Wells Davis for receiving the 2020 Yellow Rose Nikki T. Randall Servant Leader Award. Recognizing and commending Reverend Dr. Carolyn C. Carlisle. Recognizing February 5th, 2020 is Public Health Day at the State Capitol. Honoring the life and memory of Coach William Bill Ensley Sr. Commending and congratulating Savannah Granito. Commending the contributions of Georgia Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, and recognizing February 24th, 2020 is Georgia Asian American Lobby Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing and commending Major Judy Jordan Johnson for her outstanding service and contributions to the City of Lawrenceville, and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Okay, we're going on now to announcements. The first announcement is, if you have pages here, we're going to be taking page photographs rather expeditiously up here at the podium, so get with your page. We're not going to come looking for you. If you've signed up for an announcement, then make your way to the front of the chamber. Chair recognizes Chairman Sam Watson for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just going to let everybody know that Rural Caucus will meet immediately upon adjournment in 201 Department of Ag. We've got our rural health folks speaking today. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Werkheiser for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Industry and Labor Committee will meet today at 3 o'clock, CLOB 506. Have a very important measure, so please be there. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Mathiak for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to invite everybody for lunch with the Georgia Family Connection, Capitol Room 216. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tarvin for an announcement.
Interstate Corporation will meet in CLOB 506 at 1 o'clock.
Chair recognizes Chairman Beverly for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Democratic Caucus will not be meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We will not be meeting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Burchett for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we have the Bird Supper put on by Lowndes County and City of Valdosta. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you over to the Rail Depot from 5 to 7 and come get you some fried quail. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Vance Smith for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Subcommittee, Environmental Quality Subcommittee of Natural Resources and Environment will meet in the morning at 8 a.m. in room 606 CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Cannon for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to invite all of my colleagues to Community Midwife Day in room 328 of the CLOB. We're meeting right now. 2 fun facts. Georgia used to have over 9,000 direct entry midwives. So please come out and meet the people who are meeting the needs of the maternal mortality crisis. Thanks.
Chair recognizes Chairman F. Stration for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Setzler Subcommittee of Judiciary Non-Civil will meet in room 406 of the CLOB at 1 p.m. today. 1 p.m. today, 406 CLOB.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Appropriations Subcommittee on Education will meet today in 341 at 1:30. 1:30. We moved it back 30 minutes. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Collins for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a change in the committee meeting this afternoon for your state and local government subcommittee. We'll be meeting at 3 p.m. at 6:06. That's 3 p.m. and 6:06. And then the election subcommittee will meet after that at 4 o'clock in 606 CLOB. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lumsden for an announcement.
Lumsden Subcommittee will be meeting in CLOB 406 at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Evans for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The CAG delegation will meet right now for lunch with the school board in CLOB 514. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Donahue for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. State Properties Committee will meet today at 2 o'clock in Capitol 403 building. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Wilkerson for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to invite everybody down to the Rotunda. You can meet some health coaches and learn about the great work that they do in the state of Georgia. They'll be down there from 1 until 5. Thank you.
That completes our announcements. The chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today and then be adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February the 27th, 2020.
The Majority Leader has moved that this House be in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. today, whereupon we would stand adjourned until Thursday, February 27 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it, and this House will be in recess until 4 p.m. Then we will be adjourned until Thursday morning at 10 a.m.